Hello everybody, it's King of Koopas here, and we're back for some more RollerCoaster Tycoon Deluxe. Now, okay, when we last left off, I just showed you the basic, tutorial. Again, we're not going to get into the parks yet, but instead, this time, we're going to go into what makes a successful park. I could explain this as we go on, but I think that'd be a little disorganized. So I want to get all this heavy tutorial stuff out of the way before we do any major building. Alrighty, so let's just pick a park here. Let's go to Blackpool Pleasure. I have the sound muted for a sec here. Okay, I'll unmute it here. Like for example, all this stuff here. Okay, I'm gonna have to mute the sound here. These headphones here really block off sound, and it's really hard to talk with how loud this can get. I'm sorry. It's just because of all the music. I'm sorry. This won't happen later on in the Let's Play once I get used to it. But anyhow, this is a pre-made park that comes with the game. You can kind of see it. So you can kind of see, if you can zoom out here. There's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot to go into of why this park is good and why this park is bad. So let's just start with the basics here. Let me turn on sound. God, I really wish I could limit sound, but I don't think you want to listen to nothing. Alrighty, so as we're playing here with the, what am I trying to say? I don't even know where to begin. This isn't scripted at all, so it's really... oh, that music is gonna kill. I'm sorry. I just have to. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyhow, so basically, in this park, this first you can see what this is one of those parks where the price is locked at free. That's very important when it comes to financial, which is what we'll talk about later. And I don't even know where to be. Okay, first of all, you take a look at main layout of the park. As you notice, for the most part, the park is kind of circular. That's a very important aspect when designing a park. You don't want a lot of dead ends. I mean, if you look at this, you can see that almost every path serves a purpose. And that's probably one of the most important rules when designing any park. Make sure the layout makes sense, as if you have just, random paths that lead to nowhere, for scenery, guests are going to get lost. And that's probably the worst thing that can happen to you, because if guests start getting lost, it is near impossible to fix, unless you really check on Yash. That's an example of the little thing there. That's an important rule. Second of all, of course, is pricing. That's a very important thing. If you want your park to be popular, you need good prices. Now, it really depends on if the park is free or not, so we'll go into the prices later. Okay, next of all, you need good staff. You need really good staff. Like for example, you see a park this big, you need way more than 14 staff. You need something like this. I'd probably just max it out at something like 30 or 40 handyman. Now some people may find that excessive, but trust me, you want to make sure that the paths are clean and that there's a lot of handyman around, because that means people are going to like how clean it is. Your park rating is going to go up. It's going to be costing you more money, but more people are going to come in. For mechanics, you want to have lots of them. You need more than just 9. I usually don't hire nearly as many handymen as that, but it's good to have a lot of mechanics to get lots of inspections, especially for lots of roller coasters. Security guards, this is an example of what you shouldn't do. You should hire a few security guards, at the least, I'd say about 10 or 15 for something like this. Just to start out with, and then hire more as needed, because this needs security. And yeah, entertainers, don't even worry about that. They're not really important. Oh, pardon me. Alright, so anyhow, that's kind of the, okay. Next off, another important aspect is, of course, the shops and stalls, which are very important, of course. Make sure when you're designing your park that there are lots of bathrooms, food, and drink stalls. Those are very important. As for a park this big, as you can see, you don't see very many. You only see like a few here and there. I mean, and there's not that wrong with it, like if you're going for a realistic touch, but this game isn't realistic like that. You need to go overboard. If you want really good park ratings and whatnot, and you don't want people complaining, then yeah, you do not want to be limiting how much you put on. Just be sure to put lots of food and drink stalls and whatnot. And general rule that I try to follow: if you have like a corner of the screen and you don't see you don't see at least one food, drink, and bathroom, then usually you need at least to add one. That's just my general rule. I know that sounds like overkill, but it works for me. I like to have lots of bathrooms and whatnot. Okay, and probably the most important stall of them all, well, not the most, but one of the most important, are called information kiosks. Whenever you're starting a new park, make sure you invent these first. These are the most important stall that you're going to get in the entire game. Why? Because they sell park maps and umbrellas. And umbrellas can be exploited to gain a lot of money, which I'll explain later. And the park maps here are key to help guests from getting lost. That is important. If guests get lost, it's almost impossible to fix. I am not joking by that. Whatever you do, do not let your guests get lost. If you need to make the maps free, do it. Just make sure they do not get lost. You can still keep going if you have no money. Even if you have no money, you can still keep going in the game. But if your guests get lost and your park rating goes down, then that's not going to help unless the goal isn't park rating oriented. And even if that's the case, that's going to affect it in some way. And of course, don't go wild. That's an important factor. When you're making a park, don't go absolutely crazy. Watch what you build. Watch how much you build. Try and space things out a little bit. And yeah, try and find creative solutions to hard problems. Whether that be building above it, below it, finding those tiny cracks in that roller coaster to make a pathway. Be creative when it comes to these parks. As if you're really creative, you can come up with some really intricate designs that'll rack in money, and at the same time keep space constraint at a minimum. Because remember, you can go up and down the train pretty high, so don't be afraid to build above the ground, below the ground, whatever the ground. I wish it was a little more oriented, but okay, let's see here. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the absolute mere basics of what makes a good park. So in really summary, it just really comes down to just micromanaging. You have to balance out, spending money, keeping money, paying off money, and keeping your guests happy. Whether that be hiring more staff or making sure that there's lots of what's it called, bathrooms or whatever you want to use. And now, for the next part here, we're going to talk about a few tips. Like, I know that was what you need to do, but here are a few tips that'll help you achieve those goals. I was going to save this for financial, but I think this is something I should get out of the way. Whenever you start a park, just max out your loan. Seriously, I find that the interest is almost never a problem. I've never had any problems but pay with the interest once you get going. So just max out your loan. Give yourself lots of money to work with to design a good park, but don't go crazy. That's a good rule. Don't go crazy just because you have a lot of money. We all want to build that amazing roller coaster right off the bat, but we just can't. Alrighty, yeah, just max out your loan. Okay. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, when it comes to pleasing your guests, that can be something that can be either really easy or really hard. Like, for example, right now everything looks fine, but as you can see, our park rating is actually dropping. And why is? I mean, look, everything looks fine. Our guests look happy. We have lots of trash bins around here. We have lots of. Oh yeah, something I also forgot about. That reminds me, with the trash bins, you also want to be sure to use those. I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping, but I almost forgot about that. Go away. If you go here to go to here, make sure you have lots of trash bins and lots of benches, even if it means you have to just cover the every single unit of pathway with trash cans. Do it. It works. It really pleases your guests, and it keeps the vomit and whatnot at a minimum. Benches are also useful too, so they can sit down. I'm sorry, I forgot about that, but anyhow, everything looks fine. So, how do we know what's wrong here? Because there's so much in this park, we have no clue what our guests are thinking. That, if you remember the last part, is where this is going to come in. This is your most important thing. If you go to the thoughts, we can now see what is wrong with our park. And as you can see here, there is a lot of problems here that we wouldn't have found normally. You see, we don't have enough bathrooms. There's a lot of litter. Let's see here. A lot of people are thirsty. It's a little crowded. Stuff like that. This is very important when it comes to figuring out what's wrong with your park, and you want to adapt to whatever your guests are thinking, and you want to make any changes possible to make it so that to make these changes. Like, for example, we're saying the guests are We got 168 people saying that they need to go to the bathroom. So if that's the case, I just, go bathroom crazy, add tons of bathrooms to get that count to about 20 or 30 or so. That's what I usually do. Because if you got about 20 or 30 people saying it, that's usually not that bad. But even with 3,000 people and still 158 saying that need to go to the bathroom, even so, as you can see, it's heavily affecting our park rating. Heavily. So yeah, we have to make sure we listen to our guests. And I think that about covers the important aspects of running a park. We're using that just general advice, like using just these general tips and general advice, you should be able to run a successful park right off the bat. You just need to be careful, play it by ear, adapt to the changing situations. Alright, let me go back to the main menu. No, I do not want to change. Alrighty, again, I'm really sorry for cutting out the audio there, but I had a lot of problems talking with that much music in the background. And I think next video we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the financial aspect of RollerCoaster Tycoon Deluxe. We're going to talk about the how to manage your money and what everything means in terms of spending money and how the financial page is going to work. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm really sorry how disorganized this was, but I've never done anything like this, so excuse me. Sorry. Thanks again.